Oh my gosh, I had the best figs. Wow. Being raw vegan on a budget is definitely doable. I've now been raw almost 10 years and honestly, I don't make that much money. So I'm going to share some of my tips with you today. And of course, not everything is going to be applicable to everybody, but I'm sure if you stay through the video that you can find at least one takeaway tip for yourself. Look at your budget. I know it sounds like cliche, almost annoying advice to hear. In the past, I've looked into raw retreats and they're like thousands of dollars, and the response that I get from the people who are putting it on is like, well, what's the cost of your health, really, Kat? And it's almost a trick question because of course your health is priceless, but we also have to be smart about our money, and if getting in debt is going to stress you out in the long run, like mental health is something you have to care about as well. So of course I believe your health is priceless, but I'm also not here to tell you to buy that $12 pint of blueberries because they're healthy for you. If you're asking how much it costs to be raw, very likely it will cost more than a processed diet. So it might be worthwhile to reevaluate your expenses and see if there's any reworking you can do when it comes to your spending. Really look at where your money is going and decide if it's important to you. Make your staple foods cheap ones. Bananas are a great example. Buy in bulk in order to get case discounts, and this is going to work for fresh fruit, it works for coconut water, juices, anything that you want to buy in bulk. You should be able to get the wholesale price or something like a 10 to 15% case discount at any grocery store. Don't be shy to talk to the staff at grocery stores and farmers markets as well. Research your nearest wholesaler. Some of them even do delivery. Get creative. I found a really good grocery store one time because I was talking to a restaurant owner about where he got his produce. Shop locally and in season. Because of its natural abundance, in-season fruit is likely going to be less expensive than something that's been shipped in. Is it being shipped in right now? And of course, this also helps support your local farmers. Find aesthetically challenged fruit or veggies at your grocery store or farmer's market. Sometimes they have a rack where it's already marked down discount fruit. Sometimes you can even just talk to them one-on-one and say, hey, this is kind of funky. It's probably headed for the trash, but I'll take it off your hands for you if you just want to mark it down for me. I did go over this in my other video and I'll link that below. Don't waste your coin. There are quite a few on this topic, so I'll start with one, which would be low-calorie fruit, something like out-of-season fresh raspberries, for example. Those are going to be so expensive. I would consider them definitely as a luxury item and maybe use them more as like enhancements to your meals if you really want to go for that flavor. So adding a few into your smoothie just to get that raspberry flavor, or adding them as little toppings to your desserts instead of trying to make like a whole mono meal out of them. I'd say 2, think before you buy superfoods. These can be quite pricey and not always worth it. Don't waste your coin on smoothies from restaurants. I think once in a while it's great to treat yourself, but most of the time you'll be able to make that same meal at home for a fraction of the price. Lastly, don't waste your money on the pre-cut, pre-packaged fruits and veggies in the like quick grab fridge sections of grocery stores. I know it seems convenient, but it's just their way of squeezing dollars out of you while making use of their moldy fruit. That's what they do. They're cutting off the bad sections, and it's great, I think, as far as like sustainability and using all the parts of the fruit, but they're quite overpriced. At the end of the day, nobody's getting a deal walking out of Whole Foods with like a little $12 cup of watermelon. And that touches on that low calorie point from the beginning, is really understand how many calories you're getting out of each dollar you're spending. Watermelon's not a lot. On that note, be prepared for outings if you know you're someone who's likely to get peckish. So bring food with you, or simply know where you can access cheap fruit while you're out. And if you're asking, what is cheap fruit? Like, how do I know if I'm getting a deal? That's a great question. And I'm going to encourage you to shop around. There's definitely a learning curve to this if you're someone who's new to buying fresh produce. Something I do and would definitely recommend with regard to shopping around is I keep a digital note on my phone, and as I go to the different grocery stores and farmers markets in my neighborhood, I have a list of my staple foods that I kind of always buy, my favorite items, and I will write the different costs for each store. Of course, costs are gonna vary subtly, but I start to get an idea of trends of the costs of each fruit or vegetable, how that changes throughout the year, and how that differs from store to store in terms of like which ones are the more fancy grocery stores that are just charging more because they can, and which ones are more like budget friendly. I'd also recommend exploring Asian markets if you have access. My experience is that they have pretty good prices generally, and a selection of exotic fruits that are hard to find anywhere else. Talk to other raw vegans and vegans, especially the ones in your area. You can do this in person or online, like Instagram or 30 Bananas a Day. Pick their brain, ask where they get their cheapest stuff. The raw vegan and vegan community is amazing, and I've had such a phenomenal time at every gathering that I've been to, but I would never want anyone to get this idea that they have to blow the bank on an expensive raw vegan retreat just to maintain this lifestyle, because that's not the case. Of course, you have the online community for support, but there's nothing better than in real life connection, and there's definitely budget-friendly ways to do that. Free options include potlucks in your area, or a lot of gatherings are free, more like one-day events that are just hosted in a park or something. As for longer-term events, look into your volunteer options. Retreats need staff, festivals need staff. I've been to at least 4 festivals now, and I have volunteered at every single one of them. And of course, it's going to be a different experience because you're working a lot of the time, but it made it possible for me to actually attend. On the topic of travel, think about how to factor your diet into your travel plans. For example, it's going to be tremendously cheaper to be a fruitarian in Thailand than it would be in Japan. It's going to be cheaper to travel as a fruitarian in the tropics than it would be in Alaska in wintertime, for example. Of course, your diet is not here to rule your life, but it's something to take into consideration if it's important to you and you're on a budget. As another option, maybe consider combining woofing into your travel experience if that makes sense for you. You know, finding a farm you can stay on, work on, and eat from. I do have a video on this topic and I'll link that below as well. There are a lot of guerrilla farming that's happening and just natural seed spreading that's happening. So there are wild plants that you can eat from. Foraging is going to be location dependent and season dependent, but definitely consider it as an option. The more and more that I learn about fruit and fruit trees, the more as I'm driving around, I can spy them in neighborhoods. So get educated on what fruit trees look like. You can also access different maps online. I know when I was staying in California, I just Googled like fruit neighborhood map or something with these keywords, and I was able to find so many fig trees in my area that were just public, like on the side of the road that nobody else was accessing. Oh my gosh, I had the best figs. Wow. So there are fruit maps available. There's also Craigslist. Some homeowners have fruit trees in their backyard that are really just a nuisance to them. And they put ads like, can somebody please come pick my oranges or have free oranges? That might be also accessible on Facebook groups for your neighborhood. You can also put an ad on Craigslist like, we'll come pick your fruit if I can eat it. I will soon be a full-on glowing orb as the sun sets right here. So check out your map options, Craigslist, and heck, I wouldn't be surprised if there are even apps nowadays that facilitate foraging. Consider working or volunteering even a couple times a month at your local farmer's market, grocery store, farm, or co-op. I say this because employees will often reap the benefits of partial discounts or extra free food. Plus, the networking opportunities are countless. I know organic can be so expensive, so maybe you can't buy it right now, and that's okay. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Maybe you can just buy some and not others. Get educated. If you're sensitive on which produce is most susceptible to chemicals, consider secondary options. So of course, fresh fruits and vegetables are going to be ideal most of the time for digestion and nutrition, etc. But there's still some really great healthy secondary options that might be worth including because they're a little easier on the budget most of the time. In my mind, this includes dried fruit and veg, frozen fruit and veggie juice, like bottled, and maybe it's even pasteurized, and that's okay with you. You know, we really have to find what works best for us. And at the end of the day, that's going to be healthier, no doubt, than buying like soda pop. Minimize eating out. I say this because restaurant meals will likely not fill up the stomach of a raw vegan. Just being honest. And maybe there's raw vegan gourmet on offer, but I find that's not worth it for me. It ends up costing me my gut. With too many refined and fatty ingredients, I end up just feeling ill. Grow your own. Simple things like herbs or scallion can be really expensive in the store and practically effortless to grow at home. Even something like kale does pretty well a lot of places because it's so hardy. So research in your area, talk to your local farmers, or research online. You can figure it out. Shop online to find the best deals for particular items, so your favorite superfoods, powders, flavorings, supplements, even kitchen equipment. Using powders or supplements might be helpful for you. From one person to the next, we're gonna have different deficiencies or lifestyle-based needs. If you're lacking in particular minerals, for example, it might require like a whole box of mixed greens to supplement you for that. Those boxes can be like $6 to $9, and if you have to have that every day, that's gonna add up. As an alternative, you could simply add a scoop of green powder to your smoothie, so that way you get your nutrient requirements without breaking the bank. Learn how to prepare healthy, satisfying raw vegan meals at home. This was huge for me on my journey. Not only did it help save me money from going to restaurants, but it also helped me develop my relationship with my body and food. And you too in that will find your personal way to become more efficient and cost-effective with meal prep. So to help you with this, I have my 4 recipe books if you're interested in low-fat raw vegan cuisine. I like to focus on whole foods, so there's no processed ingredients like salt or oil. Nothing like namashoyu or maple syrup or agave. My priority still is on the texture and taste, so you leave feeling really satisfied. And if you want to go for all 4 books, there's a 15% off discount, just so you know. Those are my 20 tips. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and that it was helpful for you. If you would like to support me and support the vegan message, give it a like. I'm sending so much love your way and support on your raw vegan journey. You can do it. You can. And thanks so much bearing with me as I shifted around to accommodate this sun. What do you think? The world revolves around you.